Good evening, folks. So, tomorrow, the first playoff game of the first round, Fever versus the Atlanta Dream, 3 o'clock. Okay. And we'll be making a video tomorrow night, post game, to talk about it. But tonight, what I wanted to talk about is an article that is talking about how Candace Parker is praising Caitlin Clark for making the decision to sit out the rest of the 2025 season. So let's talk for a few minutes before I get into the crux of this article. You know, there are all kinds of stories out there, okay? And again, let me apologize for being in my painting attire, but you're going to see a lot of this over the next couple of weeks because I'm painting my daughter's room, okay? So I stop and I make videos when I have breaks in that process. So, but get back to the story here. I see all kinds of stories out there about how Caitlin Clark was ready to come back, and the Fever benched her, and I see this all over the place, and I don't know where these stories come from, because nobody is inside the Fever organization to be able to bring you this, and as far as I know, I can't find any whistleblowers out there who are coming from within inside the Fever organization or the WNBA organization and spreading this stuff, okay? This is all pure conjecture from a number of YouTube channels. And there are so many, there's a plethora of channels out there that just make shit up. They are shit stirrers. They stir the pot because that's how they get their viewers, but they're not giving you actual factual information, okay? What would be the benefit of a team who was projected to be in the WNBA finals this year with Caitlin Clark at the helm? What would be the benefit of throwing all of that away? I'm just curious about that, because I seem to remember at the beginning of the season, when Caitlin Clark was playing in the game in Iowa, the exhibition game about the Brazilian national team, and she had a quad problem during that game. She had quad tightness. Now, at that time, there was no serious injury, okay? No serious injury. But she was on a stationary bike in the walkway during that game when she wasn't on the court. And they showed it on camera. So we now know that from several of her groin injuries, she's had, I believe, 3 this year, that Caitlin Clark was coming back too soon. And everybody at that time was complaining and bitching that the Fever and the league were pushing her to come back too soon because they didn't want the numbers to fall off. Now the rumor is that the league was putting her on the shelf on purpose. None of this makes any real sense, folks. When you step back from all the emotion of all of this crap and you look, what benefit does this have to anybody? And what makes you think, honestly, that Caitlin Clark would participate in a benching and keep her mouth shut? Because I maintain to you that this girl has wanted to do nothing but play basketball. And she would never voluntarily sit her ass down on the pine. And if she knew that that's what was going on here, she would not be quiet about it. Sorry about that. I just refuse to buy it, okay? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing nonsense. It's all conjecture, and it's all nonsense. So now that the Fever, of course, is doing the right thing, now that the Fever is finally acknowledging, hey, this girl is our future. Nothing is more important than keeping her around for 10, 12 years in a healthy condition. Now we have some new conspiracy theories out there that they were benching her on purpose, even though she was well enough to play. What they specifically said was they did not have time to guarantee she could come back safely. And at that point, in my mind, it makes no sense to bring her back to go through another first round of the playoffs. I'm sorry, she's not the only missing piece here. Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald, Sophie Cunningham. They're playing down so many players that Caitlin Clark coming back would not carry them into the finals and to a championship. You have to have a team that's been together for the entire season for that. Will they get through the first round? Could they potentially beat the Atlanta Dream without Caitlin Clark? Probably. Will they win a championship without Caitlin Clark? Hell no. I don't believe that for a million years. If I do, I'll be the first. If they do, I'll be the first one to admit I was wrong. But let me say this. They are now finally acknowledging Caitlin Clark as their future. And they want her to be around and they want her to be healthy. So let's not confuse this with anything else that might be being said out there in the netherworld of WNBA basketball bullshit, because there's plenty of it out there. All right? So let's talk about what Candace Parker said. She said, and I'm quoting this, "I'm proud of this generation for taking the time they need to look at the big picture." And that's what this is all about here, okay? That's what this is all about, is to look at the big picture and not get caught up in the immediacy of having to return for the playoffs, okay? This is what Candace Parker also said, and I'm quoting, "I have been a player that has had a number of injuries. And I think later in my career, especially some of those injuries would have been less or preventable had I listened to my body earlier and taken the time." She said that Clark made the right choice. All right? Now, she also played through a fractured foot after signing with the Aces in 2023. Unfortunately, the then 35-year-old had to cut her season short because the injury worsened and she needed surgery. She retired in 2024 despite signing a one-year deal with the Aces. So Candace Parker knows what's going on here. There's been a lot of pressure on Clark to return. We know that, okay? They had a breakthrough year in 2024 when she was a rookie, mostly because of her, okay? They needed her to play as many games as possible to keep the momentum going. And this is a girl who, Caitlin Clark, is someone who was seen as an iron woman. She had not suffered an injury since high school, and it was a minor injury. Okay? And she was determined to return. So, no, they didn't keep just putting this off so they could sell tickets. They kept putting this off because Caitlin Clark really wants to play basketball. She feels a responsibility not just to herself because of what she wants, but for her teammates and her fans. Sophie Cunningham reported she was spending 8 to 9 hours a day in rehab. Do you know anybody else who does that? I don't. So, Candace Parker isn't the only person who supported her decision not to return. So did Lisa Leslie, okay? And this is what Lisa Leslie said, and I'm quoting this also. "Do you want to see Caitlin Clark for the longevity of her career? I'm just thinking, me personally, I would not put Caitlin Clark back on the floor this season, and the only reason why I say this is because I had the injury she has. That deep groin injury is nothing to play around with. It can feel like you never had it. You make one move, one cut, and boom, she's back in the same spot. I don't know if it's worth risking it. If they get the 8th spot and you're getting in the playoffs, is it really worth it?" you know, let's look at this realistically, folks. We have a team that's finishing in the 6th spot. They are the 6th seed. They are facing the number 3 seed, the Atlanta Dream, and the Atlanta Dream has the home court advantage in the best of 3. Okay? So we'll see if they can get through the first round. But I maintain to you that having Caitlin Clark back at this time in the season for just this, to put her 2026 campaign at risk and her health at risk for a 2026 healthy season, is definitely not worth it. Not worth it. Okay, I am the first to admit that I have been in withdrawal all season long. I have been watching highlights on YouTube. I've been watching old games that I taped on Fubo just to see the girl play. She's amazing. I still say there's nobody in the WNBA that plays basketball like Caitlin Clark. Not in the past, and certainly not right now. Yeah, there are the Asia Wilsons and the Fisa Colliers and all of that. But nobody that plays basketball like Caitlin Clark. This is a complete package here. That's what we're looking at here. She's different than anybody else in the league. And I personally will sacrifice this season so that she can come back and be strong in 2026. I still do not think, and I could be totally wrong, that she's going to play in Unrivaled. I don't. I think Caitlin Clark will find a way to get in game shape before the beginning of the season. Let's understand this. The beginning of the season starts in May of next year. Next May. This is only September. She's got time. And the Fever has committed to giving her all of the resources she needs to continue to get well and get ready for 2026. They're not stupid. So I think she made the absolute correct decision. And I am in total support of Caitlin Clark. And believe me, nobody made this decision without her input. Nobody. Just like nobody came up with her logo without her participation. She's the client in all of this. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I would like to also put to bed the notion once and for all that Paige Bueckers is a better rookie than Caitlin Clark was. Paige Bueckers did make the second All-WNBA team this year. Caitlin Clark, in her rookie season, made the first team, the first All-WNBA team, the first rookie to do so since guess who? Candace Parker in 2008. So, Caitlin Clark, I'll say it again, Paige Bueckers, Caitlin Clark. Bueckers, Clark. No doubt, no doubt, Paige Bueckers is a great basketball player. She had a great rookie season. I believe she has won the Rookie of the Year. I thought I saw that in passing on my screen today. Congratulations to Paige Bueckers. Next year, there'll be another Rookie of the Year. Okay? But Paige Bueckers, by every stretch, is not Caitlin Clark. Not on the court and not off the court. That's all I'm saying. So, for anyone trying to draw the conclusion that Paige Bueckers has been a better rookie this year than Caitlin Clark was last year, I want you to show me the 62 broken records. That's what I want you to do. Okay? So that's where we are. Okay? That's where we are for tonight. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll be talking about the first game of the playoffs. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're hoping for the best. They're playing a tough team. They're playing a tough team that is healthy. Okay? And we're going to see how far they can go. And we will be cheering them on because Caitlin Clark will be in Atlanta cheering on her team. Caitlin Clark has brought fans into the stands in Indianapolis. And they have stuck around for her team. And that is what we hope for. Okay? There are always going to be players, always going to be viewers, and people who only watch Caitlin Clark because they're not interested in the sport. But they are enamored with the way she plays the sport. Okay? I am not a huge fan of every single sport there is, but there are some players that I watch in specific sports because they are that good at what they do. There will always be the casual fan. Okay? She has literally billions of eyes on her, not just in the United States, but all across the world. She has a massive following in Asia. And she is the GOAT. Let's admit it. So no, the casual fans will probably not be watching the WNBA playoffs this year because Caitlin Clark's not in them. But the people who are truly fans of women's basketball will be watching. And quite frankly, the WNBA has been on an upturn since COVID, since coming out of COVID. So all Caitlin Clark has done is add to that, okay? She has exploded that. And she will be back next year, and we will continue on from there. I will see you again tomorrow. You guys have a great night.